We're now going to move on to our final panel session of the day. We do have a limited number of mics, so there's going to be a bit of a handover sequence. So I'm going to attempt to fill the space, fill the void. So can I see some hands in terms of your businesses today? Who's actually using AI in their day-to-day business today? Okay. Stick them up higher. So I'm going to say that's maybe 50% of you. Okay. Who's doing it in creative? None of you. Who's doing it in campaign optimization? Okay. 25% of you. I'm guessing. Right. Don't hold me to these numbers. Who's doing it in terms of auction mechanics? Okay. And who's doing it in a completely different topic that I haven't mentioned and is happy to stand up and say what that is? Come on, one of you. One of you must. Yeah, go for it. Benjamin, how are you using AI today?
For invited traffic filtration, as well as audience modeling to be able to identify uniqueness of audience and create cohorts.
Okay. Do you want to repeat that again? How you got the mic?
Yeah, I can repeat with the mic. So for invited traffic filtration, as well as audience unique counting and modeling.
Okay, so verification, audience modeling, and what was the third?
Unique counts, like in podcasts, it's complicated
to
count uniques.
Okay, awesome. All right, I think we're ready. Thank you for humouring me as we filled the void. And it now gives me great pleasure to invite Ben Geach, who is a consulting lead at Google, also a founding member of the Programmatic Trading Committee. 9 years, I believe, since you first started the Programmatic Trading Committee. So a big round of applause for Ben and his panel.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third panel of the day. So as Nick said, I'm Ben, and I'm a consulting lead here at Google, and we are moderator for the final panel of the day. So this panel is going to focus on particularly around campaign optimization and the use of AI and measurement as well. I think very important topics for whatever part of the ecosystem we sit in. So we've had some wonderful content today, and just a couple of takeaways from me, which I think will be echoed potentially by the panel here and have some great examples, is that AI is not something new. We've been doing it as an industry in various means for many years, and there are some real practical ways that we can take away from that. So I'm going to get my panelists to introduce themselves in a second, but I'm also going to ask them to explain a little bit about how they've used AI personally, maybe give an example of how they've used it in a non-work sense. So I'll share mine first, and the photo on the wall behind me is not actually me. So this is not an actual photo. It's generated by AI using some sources online. So I'll leave it to your decision whether it looks realistic and maybe better than real life. I'm not sure. So that's my tidbit of what I've used AI for to be able to generate profile pictures. So over to our panelists. Please, share your name, company, and a personal AI moment.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Really great to be on this panel. My name is Clara de Rosa. I'm Head of Customer Success at Adform. For those that don't know, Adform, we're an European ad tech vendor, which was born as an ad server back in the day. We've been around a long time, but cover the whole life cycle, DSP and also sales side. And I wish I'd taken your advice on my picture. I obviously did not use it. That's what you get. And I also wish I was that one person when ChatGPT came out that spent the weekend writing a children's book and then using DALL-E for the imagery and then publishing it and making 20 grand out of it. But that wasn't me, sadly. Yeah. I'm a bit more basic, and I use ChatGPT to actually help me with a fitness event I'm going to be doing. So ChatGPT wrote for me the training plan week by week, which I thought was great. Otherwise, I would have to pay a specialist to do that at PT. So there you go, that's my example.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Tassie. I'm Group Director of Integrated Solutions at DoubleVerify. So my remit is programmatic, performance and attention across the EMEA region. I once got into a bit of a debate with a chatbot when it first came out. Being a Wayne from Essex, I thought it would be interesting to look and see what is the history of the name, and it actually turned out that Wayne is of Scottish descent. It means wagon maker, which I thought was quite interesting. I then got into this debate with it where it actually tried convincing me to give up my job, become a wagon maker, which was good. So I think if there is life after media, you'll probably know where to find me.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Matina Thomaidou. I'm so happy to be here. I'm leading the data science team in Dataseat, which is now part of Verve Group. Both of those groups are doing privacy-first programmatic solutions. In Dataseat, we are focusing on contextual signals. So we are a DSP focusing on contextual signals, and with my team, the mission is to use those and optimize campaign performance through machine learning and AI. Now, in terms of the systems and all these really nice chatbots, I was super excited, especially in November 2022. We saw the rise of those, and a personal use that I have is I have created something like a mini app, which basically creates a paragraph, just a very simple, concrete paragraph, and acts as a motivation body. So the top 2 usages are for my little son to basically motivate him, do anything, literally, as a toddler. And the second thing is the same as Clara, for motivation and fitness purposes, and give me motivation to go to the gym and eat more healthy and so on.
Amazing, thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Miles. I'm Director of International Marketing at Microsoft Advertising. As for my personal story, if you can't tell from the accent, I'm actually Australian. And so Mother's Day and Father's Day get me mixed up all the time because they're different dates. And I've got a 1-year-old at home, so we recently went through our first one of these on Mother's Day. We'd just been to Australia, we got back, and I was caught a little short-handed. I hadn't done anything. And so got in and I used Bing Copilot and quickly knocked out a couple of poems, one from my daughter, one from our dog as well, dug out some old frames from under the staircase, framed them up. Wife was none the wiser. I hope she's not watching or cat's out of the bag, but it saved me that day.
Fantastic. Some really good examples there and some ideas to keep for the future, I think, as well. Great. On to the questions then. So the first topic that we're going to cover is campaign optimization. So this used to be a somewhat manual process, very much human-driven. I wondered what experiences the panelists have about how this has changed with the recent advent of AI, and what's changed? Has it got better? Or what can you do now that you couldn't do before? Maybe, Wayne, I can turn to you first on that.
I think let's pick up on the theme of the day, which starts with AI is nothing new within ad tech. I think looking at the speakers on the last panel, listening to the last keynote, AI has been around for over 2 decades, really, within our industry, and it's really underpinning everything that we've been doing. We've just more recently started talking about it a lot more. So if we look at the current iteration of AI, I would say there's always going to be room for human interaction. You're always going to need human eyeballs, on the activity and the optimization piece. But the current iteration of AI is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us going forward. If I look at what DV's been doing over the last couple of years, we were partnering with Sybids for a good 2 years before this current AI renaissance really took hold and came to the forefront. And we acquired them back in Q3. And we did this because I think as a business, we understand that AI is really going to underpin everything that we do in the future around optimization of media quality, of performance and of outcomes. And this is really what's going to drive the business forward for the agencies, the advertisers, the partners and the customers that we work with.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And Matina, on the data science side, is there advances that you've seen that have helped with campaign optimization?
So the key thing that AI brought and machine learning brought is scalability, efficiency, and speed. Now, two different things. First of all, indeed, the last year, November 2022, we saw the rise of generative AI. And what it does is through textual, first of all, information, so a human being needs to provide the right context through prompt engineering, can generate a vast amount of text and or images. So certainly there is the potential. The potential is that we can generate add images, product descriptions. Now, over the past 2 decades, from machine learning and data science perspective, we have seen the rise of autonomous bidding agents. This is something that we are using regularly in every lever of the campaign. So from audience segmentation, audience targeting, budget optimization, bidding strategies, we are using it everywhere. And we are leveraging, so far, I think, over the last decade, more the behavioral signals. But there is a shift. We are using more and more right now new alternative approaches, such as, of course, contextual signals. And I believe this is where we are going to see the future of AI being more there.
Great, and it shows the adaptive nature of as data sources change, you can then feed those as an input into optimization strategies. Makes a lot of sense. And then on Adform side, on Clara, what have you seen?
Sure. So I think a lot of it was covered in the previous panel, especially with Rob from Zenith giving us the history. And maybe to put it in context, that was incredibly helpful. And again, a trader back in the day would have been manually potentially optimizing CPM. When we introduced our DCPM algo, for example, we saw 70% of their time versus traditional methods being saved. And that really means with all of this AI, what's going to be really important is how will it also free up our time to do our jobs better and more creatively and be there, for example, with our clients and doing fun things. So super exciting. Yeah. Maybe what I'd like to add is the sophistication of algorithms. Again, we've got examples around attention metrics being pulled in. So for example, we are now able to optimize to audio, sound on, and audiovisual on completion. So that's a lot of variance to put into place when you also think about factoring in the user and the pricing. So again, the scalability, the amount of data that we have then leads to better outcomes and freeing up of traders. And maybe the final point from the last panel, a mention around scalability of IDs. So again, we really believe that there won't be one solution as part of the deprecation of third-party cookies, which, by the way, has been happening for the last 2 years. It's not the future, it's already now, because Apple, you've not been able to really bid on them unless you've got solutions in place for that and are able to do it in a cookieless way. So the future is here now. And we're seeing that because we work with multiple IDs, 40 plus first-party IDs, as well as a third-party cookie ecosystem, we're ingesting so many signals. So that's really where machine learning is helping us to ingest all of that data and then be able to factor that in as part of development algorithms and optimizations. Again, traders manually would not be able to do. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and that sort of time-saving stat is amazing, right? To be able to free up your time and have some room for innovation with clients and potentially even just invest more time in being able to understand their business goals, so you understand what drives their business as well. It can only help build better campaigns. And on the topic of sort of campaign optimization, but moving more over to maximizing performance here, I'd love to understand, perhaps Ryan, you can give us an idea of how AI has enabled you to improve the performance of the campaigns and the ROI for the advertiser, which is, of course, so critical in being able to invest more in a platform.
Yeah, I think everyone's spoken to the tools themselves quite articulately, but yeah, if you zoom out for a second as well, the whole process of getting from brief and budget through to agency, if you use one, into the tech, the campaign, the data in the platform, get the data out, back to the client, make decisions. And it's a big chain, and there's lots of steps in between there. It's not just the data and the hands-on tools optimization itself. And I think AI plays a huge role in all those steps. And so an improvement on something all the way back at communicating with the client might have a huge optimization impact, because you can better articulate what you're seeing in the data, which is not something we always consider in this, and you also may be able to pull more compelling insights or data to back up that perspective as a trader, as a campaign manager. So I think there's a bigger play here. For us, We think about this in terms of co-pilots, and we've had the benefit of having some early access programs with teams like Dentsu Creative and WPP. And what we see is universally it's coming out 70% of people feel they're more productive. And that's across the spectrum. So it's not specifically about optimizing the campaign in the platform. Their whole work cycle is 70% more productive. And not only that, their work is better. 68% are like, I've improved my work. My output is better than it would have been. So you're getting this big payoff where you're doing better work more efficiently. And I know we've talked, I think the other panels in the presentation referenced that there's cost benefits on the media side in a very direct trading point of view. But if you think about how much you invest in head hours in the business and running, or agency retainers, or budget as a client, those savings are amplified all the way through the value chain as well. So that's really a compelling way to think about AI. We get maybe stuck a little bit looking through the microscope on it, and zooming out, looking at the wider implications is really important as well, our operations as a business.
Yeah, it makes sense, both on the time saving, but also on the performance that then comes with it by being able to spend time other ways, but also the automation there. Clara, is that similar to what you've been seeing in the market?
Yeah, so I think, again, like when it comes to RI, I think what's exciting is what we can do now for clients with all of the different signals. And just another example is working with Scope 3. Again, we're able to be optimizing with clients like Audi, PC Componentes in Spain, on sustainability, as well as KPIs, which are around performance. So it becomes very exciting in terms of all the variables that you can factor in. And again, our job could become more interesting. I'm wondering whether those savings mean maybe a 4-day week for us, which would be great, maybe even less. But I think, again, there's a lot of positivity in that, and both for clients and for ourselves.
Makes a lot of sense. Great. And I think that, moving on to a slightly different topic, data is the fuel to the engine of AI, right? I'd love to hear some thoughts about how data is driving AI solutions, and tell us a little bit about what the right data, or maybe even what the wrong data is to fuel AI. Matina, maybe I can start with you.
I really like this perspective, the right data. So the most important thing is to have the right input into all of these innovative, let's say, algorithms. So if you don't have reliable, robust data, the results are going to be noisy. The typical data science process is a feedback loop. And it begins with data collection from diverse sources. In our case, what we use is internal DSP log data around contextual signals respecting, of course, the privacy of the users, as well as external sources that could help us identify genres of certain apps and help us understand the categorization of them. So we have the initial data collection piece. Then it's very crucial to have this kind of, and this sometimes even 70 or 75% of the work, the data preprocessing, the feature engineering, the preliminary exploratory data analysis before going into the model development and model deployment. So there are several machine learning and statistical techniques in order to fight things that we have seen in the ad tech industry, like extremely balanced, let's say, data sets into one class. Once we do fight them, we proceed with the model development. And basically, we are experimenting with state-of-the-art algorithms. In the case of, for example, bidding strategies, we use more the notion of the supervised learning approach. For example, we might be experimenting with gradient boosting, Bayesian approaches. And in general, all of those are a feedback loop. So wearing the data scientist hat, I see a couple of patterns. See some data, let's say, patterns. It's very crucial to collaborate and understanding this data with cross-functional partners, with product teams, with business, with commercial teams. An outlier that I might see as a data scientist in the data, or an extremely high percentile of behavior, I might say, oh, this is an outlier. I might completely ignore this data point. And I might have a domain expert explain to them, no, this is, for example, a whale in the mobile gaming industry, so you should include this data point in your data set. So it's a feedback mechanism, a feedback loop to always correct, let's say, your approaches with the data.
I love that approach, and so true for many innovations within our industry. It's like a test and learn approach, right? To be able to feed stuff in, be able to see how it works, and then adjust it as you go forward. Makes a lot of sense. Wayne, is that what you've been seeing?
I think Martina's probably a hard act to follow on that question, being a data scientist. I think from my perspective, AI is needed in any multivariate situation when it comes to programmatic. If you think about the weighting that's needed for multiple data points and data sources, a human being just doesn't have the capacity to make those choices, make those optimizations like a machine would with machine learning. If we look at AI at the moment and what it's doing, I think going back to the questions that everyone has at the moment, whether or not it's going to take over all of the different functionalities and all of the decision making, I think we're a little bit off from that at the moment. I think there's still a way to go on that, and I think there is a bit of worry unnecessarily around that, but I think it's coming in the future, and I think as we progress, AI is just going to evolve more and more when it comes to kind of those data decisions that we've been making with the human touches, but also I think it's going to be a lot more streamlined and a lot more seamless as those integrations between the different partners and the decisions that publishers are having with agencies, etc. as we go forwards. For me, I think streamlined operations is key.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to change topic slightly here to around creative and personalisation. So I think we all know that creative is critically important to how it resonates with the user and what reaction you get from them. I'm sure we can recall adverts that we've seen in our youth that either videos or jingles or imagery that really resonate and stick with you. I wonder if there's any examples of how AI is transforming ad creative by tailoring the content and making it more personalised, perhaps, to individuals?
Happy to, maybe with the theme of today, maybe start with the fact that kind of personalisation of creative has been around for a long time. And I know we're talking about it today with Gen AI, and it's definitely, I think we can say it's creative on steroids because it gives us an opportunity to really augment what we can do today. I see we're like end of day, so maybe show of hands. Who here has used for their campaigns DCO, Dynamic Creative Optimization? Right, so two people out of a room of, let's say, 40 people. My maths is terrible. So that gives you an idea that actually DCO has been around for so long and it's still unexploited. So maybe the challenge, this question is a crawl, walk, run approach where clients are still not embracing DCO. So now we're moving to DCO on AI. So in a way, we still need to educate and understand why are clients not using dynamic creative optimization, firstly. But yeah, to that point, I think, again, we've got examples where maybe the fact that we've got now ChatGPT or DALL-E, we can use these tools and within agencies or clients, they get really excited about being able to use them. And so we've got examples where we've got an A/B test with one of our clients in the US, where they've been able to feed ChatGPT headlines and power it with our dynamic creative optimization with the ad server, and therefore serve headlines and lead to 167% higher CTR versus the A/B test, the control group, which is fantastic. But again, like maybe the question to everybody here in the room is, why are we not adopting dynamic creative and what's stopping it? Hopefully with AI and with this also being in the press pretty much every day, it will accelerate the fact that there's a lot that can be done with creative already. Let's put it in front of clients. Let's make them have really powerful ads that will lead to great outcomes. Maybe the question should have been how many use static creative, but maybe that's not. I'm sure there'll be a few hands up.
That's it. I think that's a really good point, and it's maybe it's a confidence thing as well, right, within the market. Ryan, I don't know if you've got experience of this and how it's worked or not worked.
Yeah, I think two areas come to mind here. One is an example following on with where Clara was going with it at DCO. Production is, for anyone who's run really large media campaigns and all the channels and all the formats, all the variation, if you're particularly on the media side of the fence, which I've been for a long part of my career, you turn to the creators and go, I only need 150 variations of this and this, and that's just the social part of the campaign. Here's the display one, I need another 250 of these, but I need 10 seconds, 15, etc. And they just freak. And then the production team come with the bill and you go, oh my God, it's 3 times as much as we're investing in the media. We'll have to rethink and we dial everything back. And then you've also got the e-commerce side of that, your destinations, if you're a retail brand or a travel brand and you're selling through online. There's a great story I heard from a brand recently, and it was about e-commerce. A really strong insight that when you shoot product and show it in a lifestyle setting or on location setting versus in a studio, conversions like 3 or 4 times. The problem is it's really expensive, really hard, really time-consuming to do all those shoots. Bring in AI.
Yeah.
And the generation, and it allowed them to actually go further than they ever could, because they realized if you were shooting in a part of the country that was sunny and you showed a pair of sneakers with someone by the beach, it's sunny, but you showed that to someone who was in a really wintry, cold location, you lost some of that benefit. Bringing in AI, not only now can you put every product in a on-location situation, you can do multiple locations for the same product, and just the conversion benefits, they saw that, and the bottom line revenue benefits were immense. And it's starting to go even further with that, where, okay, you still need a model, you still need a studio. There's use of synthetic models now happening where it's actually fully AI, that's even faster, more cost efficient. But it's got a long way to run, and that can be from ads all the way through to the full consumer journey. So I think that's really interesting and compelling. That's the most cutting edge I've seen anyone apply it, and it really requires a rethink of your whole production system and a very kind of big, ambitious play in the space. Coming back to something a bit easier to adopt, I talked about some of our early access examples before, and we've been doing some work with Dentsu Creative who've been using this, and just putting it into your workflows as a tool. And I was interested, they came out of their early access program and with a number of other brands and clients we had using it. They came out saying 50% more, 57% more creative, because a lot of the drudgery was taken out of it, and actually one of the real benefits they loved was taking AI and things like image generators and text to image and iterating and designing with clients live on a call. Usually they take a brief, they go away, they come back 2 weeks later, like, hey, let's punch that in, let's see what that spits out. It's not quite the direction we want to go, let's go a bit further this way. And they felt that was really liberating. They got through a couple of weeks' work really fast and explored dozens more territories they could never afford to go down because it cost time, it cost money. And so things like that are going to be really interesting about that workflow where human creatives play the pivotal role, but they can just turbocharge their own output and their own work and spend way more time doing what they're really good at, letting the AI do the hard yards. I think that's a really interesting application as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I think that it's a real leveler for small business as well. You mentioned there that it's very expensive to get product photography, for example, done, and I can think of a brand that we worked with, which is a relatively newcomer to the market, who used actually a phone camera to be able to take product photography, but used AI to be able to scrape the background and remove it, and then placed it on beaches, on fields, on all different aspects to be able to get a really realistic product image that would have cost tens of thousands of pounds to be able to produce. So a real leveler there.
Or do
For
headshots.
sustainability.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. The final question that I have for you is around campaign measurement and attribution that's been touched on in other panels as well. Is if you could briefly give me your sort of 30 seconds thoughts about how AI could address the challenges in measuring success of programmatic campaigns. I know that's a tall ask to do that in 30 seconds, but I'm looking for the bullet points. Matina, maybe we could start with you.
Okay, probabilistic versus deterministic attribution, I would say, key challenge.
Yeah.
Very data-hungry systems, but very fragmented environments. We need this kind of consolidation to surpass privacy thresholds with Scan, with Google Privacy Sandbox, with Apple Scan. So it's very challenging from one side to trust the data that we see, and on the other side to be able to have this very granular level of measurement and attribution with this kind of new, let's say, methodologies. And AI and machine learning, they have methodologies that they can help us out with extrapolation of the right metrics and signals. I will stop here. I know it's more than 30 seconds. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wayne.
I think we need to be very meticulous about what we mean regarding success. If we look at what we see out in the ecosystem, we still see a lot of CTR, CPC, CPA campaigns for lower funnel attribution, but we're seeing a lot more complex metrics emerging, such as quality CPMs, attention CPMs, QA CPMs for kind of mid to top funnel attribution. I think tying that level of complexity back across the user journey is a challenge, especially when we're looking across the whole ecosystem, across the buy side and the sell side. I think what we've tried to do as an organisation is put our wager on Sybase and say this is going to take the complexity out of it, and it's going to allow those that partner with us to take the kind of data sets that they love, like purchase data, and tie it back seamlessly across their optimisation going into the future.
Amazing. Thank you. And Clara?
Do the whole day. Bullet point, I think what's not been said, really today what we're seeing is a shift, the last few years, actually a couple of years, with clients and agencies using metadata, like log files, to then really build attribution models. So really what I would like to leave everyone here with is that it's really important for the advertiser in conjunction with the partners to own that attribution model, because the clients need to have full transparency into that. And so AI, to Matina's point, has got a real role in terms of extrapolation of data, because again, signals are going away. There's a lot of data points that need to be pulled in, but then there needs to be transparency on how that model is actually built, and the advertiser really needs to own that. Maybe controversial point of view for the end of the day. Yes, and I think that also we need to work as an industry. There, again, as we also enter omni-channel as a reality that will become more and more developed, industry or industry-backed initiatives such as Origin are really critical. Problem of measurement has really been around since the beginning of really having radio, TV, and now digital. So I think it's a problem that's hard to solve for, but the industry can come together to work and collaborate and make sure we can make sense of the fragmentation we see.
Amazing, yeah. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. A good point to end on is that to solve these problems for measurement, we can only do it together as an industry as well, because there are so many different players within the industry, and it's so important to be able to combine that. Great, thank you so much. So I think we've got time for one question, if there is one in the audience there. Great, if you just wait for the microphone to come over to you, we'll make sure that those on the live stream can hear you.
Yeah, so thank you. My name is Alberto. I work at Quantcast. Yeah, we do work with AI, and by the way, yeah, your picture looks amazing. So,
Better than real life or not? No, you don't have to answer that.
That's great, and actually made me think about how AI can help to identify audiences in the best way possible. And talking about measurement, one thing that when you didn't mention, but I'm sure that you're very aware of, is the CO2 PM. The cost of serving 1,000 impressions, cost in terms of CO2 emissions, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and knowing that, of course, third-party cookie deprecation is like removing focus from the next issue that we're going to be facing as an industry, which is sustainability, or we're already facing. I would like to ask your thoughts about how embracing AI can actually help in creating an industry that eventually becomes more sustainable and fuels a more sustainable media industry.
We haven't really, I know we've touched on sustainability a little bit today. DoubleVerify, obviously, we work very closely with Scope 3. We know that 1,000 impressions equals like 1 tonne of carbon emissions. How do we tie that back to AI? I think where we haven't really got to yet as an industry is that balance between sustainability and campaign performance, because there is that kind of burning question is, can you have both? If you look at branding campaigns, yes, you think it's probably going to be quite easy to make that balance. But at what point are advertisers, the agencies that represent them, sorry, I know Zenith is in the room somewhere, at what point do we start sacrificing performance for carbon neutrality? We all want to work towards it. What we're seeing is every major RFI that comes up for the last 6 months to a year is including sustainability as a key indicator of what we can do from a measurement perspective, but also they want to balance that with this is what we're looking to achieve from a performance perspective, and we need to be able to illustrate that. And I think right now we can measure it, that's not a problem, but we need to work out how does AI fit into that picture from an optimization perspective, because can you tell an AI, that we want to balance carbon neutrality with performance, but it also has to be within an acceptable range of CPM. There are going to be some things that aren't, physically doable. And also we have to look at the downstream for publishers, exchanges. How is it actually going to affect them? What is it going to mean to their business as well? Because we as an industry, I know there's a few people from IS in here, DV as well, there was for many years issues and friction between the publisher side and the verification side, and we've gone a long way to try and fix that, and it's not an issue that we want to accidentally reignite out in the ecosystem. Lots to think about and unpack.
Absolutely, thank you. Excellent. All right, thank you so much to our panelists today for sharing your insight and knowledge. And yeah, round of applause for our panelists. Great, thank you.